TGIN, and EY. We are Twice the Advice Consulting. I'm Jimmy Gibbons. We have Lori Berg, Kevin O'Brien, Corinne Gonzalez, Jiawei Lee, and Claire Finn. And we are proposing the idea of community roots. Now, a tree can grow big and strong and have branches jutting out all over. But if they do not have a strong system of roots, then this tree will wilt and it will die. This is why TGIN needs to focus on their roots in Chicago, Illinois, and further their growth from the ground up. This is why we propose TGIN building a flagship store. At this store, there will be a full-service salon. TGIN will also have sales staff to go over with customers how to use various products, and we will also use this as an incubator to test out new products. Now Corinne will go into why this will work.
Okay, we think that this is the best course of action TGIN can take. Not only is it a source for TGIN to try out new products, it'll be a chance for TGIN to build and strengthen their core community. This is a chance to create a personalized experience for their customers. This is a place where African American men and women have a chance to get education about natural hair and natural hair care. It is also a place for African American men and women to have reliable and talented stylists that they can trust. These stylists are going to be educated on their type of hair, so they won't have any mishaps. Also, this is a place where African American men and women can gain confidence and self-confidence in their natural hair and gain self-confidence when transitioning to their natural hair. So we want to help you, TGIN, strengthen your roots in your community. Now we're open up for questions.
Where in Chicago are you trying to put the store?
Yes,
Because real estate's expensive.
yeah, we can go to location. So we are thinking more about Hyde Park, as that's kind of a almost way into south side of Chicago. You also have the University of Chicago there, which is a very happening place. And we were thinking like 53rd Street, so if you're familiar with Chicago, this is a very nice business district. And so there are over 1.5 million people within Cook County, Illinois, which is kind of the county encompassing all of Chicago and like the close inner suburbs. And so we thought that like Chicago is a great way to expand more because TGIN was born there, but also there's a lot of customers that they haven't reached out to yet. So this is why we think it's a great idea to go there.
Could you go over some of the costs associated with this expansion and how TGIN, being a small company, could be able to afford something like this?
Yeah, so with relevant financials, so kind of bringing a store, there's a lot of things that go into it, but like for a lease would probably end up being anywhere from like 10 to 15,000 like a month for a lease, and then also you have to get things like up to play. So I don't know if like there are other salons in the area that you'd just be repurposing, or it depends on like the real estate that you're buying. And also so we were thinking of doing like the commission model, where we have our like salon employees like cutting the hair, but then we pay them for like however many more customers they bring in like over the top. And so there's also like a lot of like fees, and then it depends for like marketing, like how exactly we want to go about that. If we want to, we have different marketing campaigns that we have to look into, and then also from an R&D side as well, because we're going to have an incubator there, like making new products. So we were thinking like one of our target groups we want to go into is men hair care. So it really depends on how much money we want to dive into that. But I think that compared to a lot of these other ideas and things where they can expand, broad and wide, I think this would be a cheaper relative option.
So I'm kind of curious why you guys chose to do a brick and mortar store in this industry when it's all like shifting towards that online, and you see like companies like Macy's and stuff actually like closing down their stores.
I would go to the community side, most likely. So we definitely got this idea. Primarily, we found in our research that in this day and age, like technology is huge, obviously, and the main consumer of these beauty products are young women ages 18 to 34. And even still, with how plugged in you'd imagine those people are with technology and smartphones and such, 73% of purchases are still made in physical stores, mostly because especially those women, just so much value that experience of talking to their peers and seeing the products on the shelves, talking to beauty stylists. So when we take that statistic and we make our flagship store and more appeal to the community, the community within Chicago, just kind of in their own backyard, especially with the location that Jimmy was talking about, then we can really increase what's already shown to be a pretty reliable foot traffic stat.
Yeah, and it's also more than just the products. So many African American women have had trouble finding stylists, like Christia said that in her book. This would be a way for, they already have a lot of loyal clients, for them to have a place that they can come in and already trust TGIN with styling their hair, and then they could go on and tell their friends also.
And to cover the products that are sold in the salon, we found that each time someone purchases a product, there's a 30% increase in the likelihood that they'll come back to that same place they purchased it from. So while we are building the sense of community within the salon, we want to provide them with materials that they can replicate the styles they get while they're there, whether that be combs and brushes, new products that they give us feedback to what they want that we don't already offer.
Yeah, and as Jackie said, I know Macy's is struggling, but especially with Ulta, Ulta just opened something in Bloomington last semester, and so a lot of those beauty stores are doing very well. And also a lot of the reason Macy's is failing and other retailers is because a lot of these brands like TGIN and other brands are trying to sell it from their own side, because the profit margins are better, because whenever you sell it through a store, you have to take something off, so customers will still buy it. So this is why we think it would have a lot of success.
I know that a lot of people trust their current hairstylist and they'll only go back to them, and I know this is especially true in the Black community. So how do you plan to attract any customers that like to leave their current hairstylist to come to you?
Well, we're planning on using fashion or Black beauty bloggers on Instagram or YouTube, and there's actually an app that they post for Black people to do their hair, hairstylists on there. So a lot of them aren't able to find places to do this, so we think that using Instagram and YouTube bloggers that a lot of people trust already, that would be a good way to market.
And in addition, I can go back to the cost-related marketing. We are doing cost-related marketing on breast cancer, because as you all know, our founder, she survived from breast cancer, and to our knowledge, TGIN is currently doing breast cancer awareness and a lot of donations, and we want to market this cause more into its roots, and we will create a limited edition product on breast cancer. If the customers come into the store and buy certain limited edition product, we will donate how many cents or a certain percent of the product to some breast cancer association. And to this cost-related marketing, not only to the customers, and also based on research, investors, they are more likely to invest cost-related companies. And also we want to provide a proposal that our founder will like.
So I guess my first question is the focus on the salon portion or the product portion? Are you wanting to drive most revenues through the salon portion or selling products in the store?
I think it's probably mostly products. So a lot of people bring it in the store, but I think also the salon portion will help to drive that, because I know a lot of people already use TGIN products, and I think that also goes up to what Connor was asking about. That's how we'll bring a lot of people into the store, because people, if they're already using TGIN products, then they'd be willing to switch salons.
And then real quick, when I think of a traditional flagship store, I think of a whole bunch of products. When you go into the Nike store, you get thousands of products. Does TGIN have enough products to do something like this?
Yeah, well, so we also decided we're going to sell some accessories, expand to maybe hair brushes, hair wraps, and we're also going to open a men's line as well, because the men's hair market is growing, and that's another market that we could capture. And yeah, so pretty much that. And we're thinking also maybe some new products for their women's line as well.
And to go off that, just with the product that TGIN already has and the ones that we're planning on implementing, really looking at that as a way, like Connor asked, to draw them in. And especially with the Black community, like was brought up earlier, like, you know, brand loyalty is huge. We feel like drawing them in with the products and then retaining them with both the products and the salon element of our flagship store would really be beneficial.
Okay, now we need to stop with the Q&A and transition over quickly. Do you have thoughts, questions, comments?
Yeah, what's the number one objective for opening a store?
Selling the products.
Make money.
Selling the products. So we think that by opening a flagship store, we can sell more than spending that amount of money in some kind of digital campaign. And what I'm getting is, when I weigh these, what does a physical location do for me that other types of marketing wouldn't do? You know, I just,
Versus cost.
because I'm like, the beauty of this whole thing is the whole, you know, virtual distribution, right? Amazon and all these great outlets, and you've got retailers you're plugged into. Why do I start what's the big draw to starting my own store? And I know it gives you all these other, you know, you can try new products and you can develop things, but now I'm into a retail salon business that I'm not familiar with, and I've got a building to maintain. So I'm just trying to understand what's the big, you know, what's the number? What do you think is that one thing that this really does for us?
It makes it worth this
Because,
cost.
yeah, like, so like people like in this industry like really love to like experience the products and see like what they do for them.
Okay.
And so by like opening the store, we think it'd be like a great way to just show customers like what this does for you and like how it exactly works. And we feel like we could really get a connection with the community just by having like a store. Like this is something when people think of TGIN like in Chicago, they can like look to this and like really understand like what we're about as a company.
Yeah, it makes it more of a personalized experience for sure.
Yeah, and to add to that, it definitely differentiates from from their competitors, because like in research that I've done, more like women don't know how to style like their children's hair, because now more mixed families are happening, and if the mother is white, then she doesn't know how to style her daughter's hair, or if they're two African American people, they're from two different cultures, and the hair of the child is different. So a lot of women actually struggle with how to style the hair. So this is a place where you can be educated on it, and like it's a personalized experience, so you're not like watching a YouTube video of like someone who you don't really know what their hair feels like. So it's definitely personalized to the customer.
I think, and I'm not saying it's a bad idea, I'm just saying make sure that you're very specific about why you want to open a flagship store, because I think not only that, I think this store helps you generate content online that shows that connection, right? So now you've got stuff going on every day that you can videotape and push back out that experience, right? So I think make sure you're thinking
and it capitalizes on that authenticity, right? If
Right.
the authentic experience is so important to this proprietor and to this market space, if they can have a place where they can generate videos and pictures and befores and afters in a true that is a more authentic experience than.
Which is what I was getting to. It's not so much about, yeah, we want to open a store because we can sell 20% more. No, it does. It gives that hands-on experience that we can then push out, you know, into the digital space. But make sure that's very clear up front, because it kind of took us, or at least took me a little while to get there as we had the conversation. So I think that's important. What's the store do for me? That's what we got into. Good intro. I like the whole strengthen your roots. The tie to Chicago's good. I lived there for several years, so that's a good Chicago home base type of story. The tree's a good metaphor. Don't belabor it too long though. But other than all, good idea. Like I said, just make sure that the reason for opening the store is very clear and upfront.
I would also say, along with that, we kept pushing you and we kept hearing benefits. Here's another benefit, here's another benefit, here's another benefit. That's great. But if you can't immediately tie those benefits, into a succinct core story and a revenue generation, numbers, you're gonna have to be able to get from, yes, there are multiple great benefits that come from this, but it's gonna drive X more revenue online. It's going to bring in X more customers than our next closest competitor. It's going to, when you can sync those benefits, because at the end of the day, we might all like to hear the benefits. Oh, that's great, it makes us feel better. I can get my daughter's hairstyled and learn how to do that. All sounds great. But if you can't talk in numbers, it just dissipates. And the idea that has the better numbers is gonna win. So, and I think you've got benefits that do drive metrics, you're just not using any metrics currently.
And you can make assumptions to get there too, right? I mean, nobody expects you to have it figured out, but hey, I know I can try in-store, or I can try trial subscriptions or trial sales. There's a way to start to put some math to this that helps the TGIN folks wrap their head around it. But it's a good idea.